We all flip on airplane mode for pretty much two reasons. Either we're actually on a plane, or we just want to go completely off the grid for a bit. No signals, no tracking, just a little digital peace. But what if that feeling of being disconnected was just that, a feeling? What if that device in your pocket, even with the little airplane icon glowing, is still doing things in the background?
Yeah, let's just sit with that for a second. This one idea is really the key to everything we're about to uncover. We think we're putting our phone on mute, but what we're actually doing is just silencing half of the conversation. And it's that other half, the listening part, that we really need to talk about.
So to really get what listening means in this context, we first have to break down the big myth around airplane mode. I kind of like to call it the illusion of off.
I mean, think about it. You tap that icon and your expectation is a total shutdown, right? Cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, every radio signal in or out is just gone. You believe you've just created this little bubble of digital invisibility. And for years, that's what pretty much everyone thought was happening. But the reality is a whole lot more complicated.
This is where it gets really interesting. It's this gap between our expectation and the reality of the technology. On the left, yeah, that's what we think is off. But over on the right, that's what can stay very much active: the GPS chip, motion sensors, and the really critical one, the baseband processor. And it's right there, in that gap between what we think is off and what is actually still running, that our privacy gets a little shaky.
So how on earth is this even possible? To understand why that gap exists, we need to take a quick journey right inside your phone, from the screen you tap on all the way down to its deepest hardware. First, let's talk about the GPS chip. The key concept here is that GPS is a receive-only technology. I love this analogy. It's your phone's ears, not its mouth. It only listens for signals coming down from satellites to figure out where you are. It doesn't transmit anything back up. And since airplane mode is all about stopping transmissions, it often doesn't bother to cover the ears. So your phone can still know exactly where it is on the planet. And then there's the baseband processor. Now, this is probably the most important piece of this whole puzzle. The best way to think about it is like a completely separate, tiny little computer living inside your phone. It has its own brain, its own operating system, totally independent of iOS or Android, and its one and only job is to talk to cell towers. And because it's got its own brain, it doesn't always listen to what the main operating system tells it to do, and that makes it a huge vulnerability.
So to really picture how your commands can kind of get lost in translation, think of your phone in these 4 layers. Up at the top, you've got the app layer, the stuff you see and touch. Below that, the operating system, your iOS or Android. Go deeper, you hit the firmware. But way down at the bottom, doing its own thing, is that baseband processor we just talked about.
So here's the crucial point. When you activate airplane mode up at layer 1, you're sending an order down through this really complex stack. But it's like a game of telephone. That instruction can get weaker, or it can even be flat out ignored the deeper it goes. An order from the top just doesn't guarantee 100% compliance at the bottom.
Okay, so the phone is still listening. What are the consequences? What's the big deal? Well, this brings us to this idea of the data that waits, all that information your phone is quietly collecting even when you think it's offline.
And this is so important to understand. The data doesn't just disappear. It waits. It's patient. As you can see here, your phone can be silently logging your precise GPS coordinates for hours, all while in airplane mode. And the second you turn it off, the instant you reconnect to a network, all of that stored history can be sent out in a single burst.
Now, I have to be crystal clear about this. This is not some fringe theory. These are not theoretical risks. Security researchers have proven this is happening. Law enforcement agencies have absolutely used this stored location data as evidence in court cases. And whistleblowers have confirmed that intelligence agencies know about these vulnerabilities and actively exploit them. This is real.
All right, I know this all sounds a little grim, but look, the goal here isn't to create fear. It's about empowerment. So the big question is, what can you actually do about it? Let's walk through your privacy toolkit.
Think of your protection in levels, like a hierarchy. Step 1, the easiest thing you can do is to go beyond just tapping the airplane icon. Go into your settings and manually turn off location services first. Step 2, do an app audit. Get in there and revoke location permissions from anything that doesn't absolutely need it. Step 3 is a physical solution, a Faraday bag. And then there's Step 4, what I call the nuclear option, powering the device completely off. That's the only way to be almost 100% certain. Let's just zoom in on Step 3 for a second, the Faraday bag. It's a really simple idea. It's basically a pouch that's lined with a special metallic mesh.
And that mesh creates a physical cage that no electromagnetic signals can get into or out of. That includes those passive GPS signals that airplane mode often misses. It's a physical solution to a hardware problem. Since we can't always trust a software command to do what we want, this physical barrier guarantees true disconnection.
You know, when you really boil it all down, it comes back to a fundamental shift in how we see these devices. And this quote here, it just says it all. Your phone was not built to protect your privacy. It was built to maximize your connectivity. And you have to understand, those two goals are almost always opposites.
Look, the point of all of this isn't to make you want to throw your phone away. It's to help you understand it. Knowing these technical limitations is the very first step toward having some real digital self-awareness. In today's world, being informed about what your devices are actually doing isn't just a good idea, it's essential. So I'll leave you with just one simple question to think about. Now that you know how airplane mode really works, and more importantly, how it doesn't, what are you going to do differently?